All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Green White Checkered TV. Tonight it's playoff time. It's already that time of the season, and we're going to kick things off. We'll start actually to show our driver standings going into tonight. So everybody's going to be pretty much reset to zero here. Actually, my numbers here are not showing at all accurate, so we'll actually pull that back out. Apologies for that. Rookie mistake. Hate to see it. However, points going into tonight. So, our 8 playoff drivers, you have Henry Bennett, Yari Brupacher, Nick Degroot, Craig Forsyth, Jeff Heisong, Charles Teed, Matt Wagner, and Andrew Wood. All going to be reset pretty much at 1,000 points apiece. No bonus points for wins or anything like that. Everybody resets to 0. It's all about who can get the most amount of points in these final 4 races through this season. And then, of course, we're actually going to be doing a little bit of a kind of a playoff for the non-playoff drivers as well. They're going to all reset pretty much to 0. And the winner, whoever does the best out of those drivers as well, will be winning a prize of $40. So some incentive for those to help, obviously helps keep the car counts up, but then also just gives a little bit more incentive to those not in the playoffs. So it's going to be a lot of fun here. But we got to switch over to my partner in crime, and that is Steve Gottschalk. So, Steve, I know you got some good pointers from Matt Wagner. He said you were not allowed to share them, though, so you're going to have to kind of tell us what you learned here tonight without spilling the beans on what Matt was able to help you out with here tonight.
Okay, well, I can't say anything in that case because everything I learned is a secret. But here's what one thing I can say. Qualifying at this track is a lot like the stock cars at Talladega. You're going to run the high line all the way around for your warm-up and your first lap. And then your second lap, the money lap, you're going to run in the low line. But let's talk about race. While I do a qual lap. The race setup is pretty comfortable, but when you've got aero, if you're following even just one car, the amount of push that you get in the corners, especially on exit, is pretty intense. You really have to play with the throttle and the steering to not hit the wall coming off the turns. Oops, and I already messed up. You can take pretty much any lane you want around the track. I happen to be more comfortable in the low line, although I'm not running it right now, but you get the push no matter where you are.
Yeah, so I think that's a big part, Steve. I think that aero push is going to be crucial tonight. But I think, like you mentioned, though, I think what's going to be interesting here is, especially us familiar with maybe the full-bodied cars, Kansas is notorious for kind of having a pretty good top groove where you can maybe hustle that outside line right up against the wall here. I think that's going to give a lot of option to maybe see, of course, with these cars, a lot more throttle time, except for the dirty air, but maybe opens up some potential though to try to maybe do some momentum passes, if you will, coming through turns 2 and turns 4.
Yeah, definitely. And although I was having trouble getting that close to the wall in practice, it did feel like if you really were all the way up in the high line, that you actually had a little bit of advantage over pretty much everything but the low line, and you did get more momentum coming off the turn. If you're maybe a lane down from the high line, the banking is still not enough, I guess, to keep you from pushing on exit, so you had to be careful. The other thing I wanted to mention was that adjusting your weight jacker and any roll bars is going to be probably important here. And I did some playing around with those and was able to make the car a little better. I tried a couple settings where I went too far, and the car just became really twitchy and hard to keep off the apron. Speaking of which, you do not want to touch the apron anywhere on the track with this car, because if you get your left tires down on the apron, you're coming around.
Yeah, so it's kind of my philosophy, especially with these Indy cars, to say in general, usually apron bad. You can get away with it in the Cup cars, Xfinity cars, and such, especially in the Trial. But like you said, just that transition, the banking, these cars just do not like it. So you're exactly right, Steve. I think that's just going to be pretty much a danger area that you're not going to want to have, that you're not going to want to deal with tonight. But with that, though, we're going to pull up our qualifying grid here tonight, Steve. And we've got a bit of a spoiler going on here tonight on that pole position. And again, I think also throws off a little bit the game plan for maybe some of our playoff drivers here tonight. It's going to be that number 51, Jim Brooks, did not make the playoffs. Unfortunately, had some issues last week, knocked him out, but he's going to bounce back here, pole position for the 51. Next to him, Nick Degroot. Never surprised to see Nick towards the front there. And we talked about playoff drivers, and you see right away, Steve. You've got Nick Degroot there in second, like we had mentioned before. You've got Charles Teed right there next to him, or right there as well, third. Andrew Woods right there, Matt Wagner, Jeff Heisong, AJ Hobson. No, I'm sorry, AJ's not in the playoffs. But I mean, you've got second through six right there, playoff drivers. Yari Brupacher right there, also in eighth. Then you got Benjamin Combs, Jim Herrick, Scott Rankin, and Gary Corley, our top 12. And we'll keep continuing down the order. You got Michael Spell, Alec Coates, Josh Laston, Joseph Morales, Jack Walls, James Ledford, Don Reedy, Carl Henderson, and Jimmy Dryden. So it looks like about 21 drivers taking part tonight. Unfortunately, as you'll notice, a few playoff drivers missing tonight. Those include Craig Forsyth and Henry Bennett. Unfortunately, had some competing racing going on that not able to make it tonight. However, I'll say will be interesting to see because we've seen drivers make some pretty big charges, Steve, just on the side of basically them just on the final three races, if they can just kind of catch fire, if you will. So it'll be fun to see what Craig and what Henry can do, as we know those are both very, very talented drivers here. But when you're competing against some of these guys like Nick Degroot and Andrew Wood, Matt Wagner, Charles Teed and company, it's going to be tough sledding for sure.
Yeah, it's really hard to come in minus one race, even if you get provisional points, as I'm discovering in my Sunday league.
Yeah, it's pretty much like you said, no holds barred. So, but here's the thing, though, Steve. I'll say again, we talked about there's those two playoffs going on, kind of the playoffs for the championship, and then also for those that did not make that top eight. So, Jim Brooks, he gets a bonus point right there in his pocket to kick things off. So, that's always a good start to have something to kind of keep in mind and keep handy. So. That's always a great way to start things off. And same thing for those guys. They're all going to start on the same number of points on that one too, whether it's reset to 0 or however they're going to do it here. So fuel window going to be in the mid to low 30s. I've been hearing anywhere from like 33 all the way up to maybe 35 or so. Just depends on, like you said, Steve, traffic, fuel maps, and of course where you are on track. If you're leading, you're going to be burning the most fuel, obviously. 110 laps here tonight though, so if we go green, of course, could someone try to pull some fuel mileage magic here?
All right, give me 1 sec. I just need to put something in the refrigerator.
No worries. We'll get things kicked off, Steve. I'll say whenever you're back, just chime on in. However, like I said, front row going to be the 51 of Jim Brooks, 89 Nick Degroot, one of our playoff contenders. There you got Charles Teed and Andrew Wood as well. However, pace car is going to duck in. It's going to be that 51 and the 89 leading the field to the green. Once that green flag flies and we are down and away, 110 laps is our scheduled race distance here tonight as they head into turn number 1 for the first time. Right away, Andrew Wood, he's working himself to the top. Not sure if this is trying to make gains or just trying to keep some good track, keep kind of the clean air on the nose. But I see the inside line, though, Jim's going to hold that inside, does not want to give up that bottom. I say this is going to be the first real question mark as drivers trying to be careful about a push. See a big push exit there for Andrew Wood, almost like a pushing loose, it looked like. Looks like Jim's going to lead lap number 1, but it's in the Charles T now. Matt Wagner going to try to see if they can capitalize and try to find a way to get around that 51 as Nick Degroot falls back to 4th.
Yeah, Matt got up there in a hurry.
Yeah,
now, the question is, I thought maybe Nick Degroot, him and Matt Wagner tend to be the ones that charge the hardest and want to get up front and lead. But it'll be interesting to see which one of the playoff drivers, if any, gets up front before the others.
Yeah, I think, again, this will be an interesting position for drivers. Like I say, right now, Charles Teed, he's the first of the playoff contenders right now. We're running in second position. And so that's the question for Charles. Like, what's more important right now? Do you just want to kind of keep that track position, maybe start saving fuel, start running that fuel map? As you can see, he's left off pretty good distance behind the 51 here already. Or do you need to start maybe trying to get aggressive, get that lap led? As I said, though, Matt Wagner, we talked about aggression. He's going to be going after right here as they go down the back. Got the nose ahead in 3. Now we're going to see how the inside versus the outside works right here, because Matt's running the low side, Charles on the high. Just clears that 50 car, but here he comes back on the inside.
And Matt did exactly what you had talked about earlier, which was he used the momentum from the high line to get a run on Charles Teed and go underneath him.
Almost a slide job there.
Yeah, that was close.
I say Nick Degroot just enjoying the show right there, right behind him in third. As I'm sure we had a bit of a pucker moment there coming out of turn 2, seeing them get so close. But now Charles, he takes that spot back, and yet again, here comes Matt one more time. He's going to take one more look at it. So we're going to hop on board with Nick Degroot. He's got the best view of this one right now. As again, Matt Wagner takes the spot there, but here comes Charles one more time. He's going to jump right back down low.
And, you know, it's not unusual to see a green car out front kind of pulling away from everyone. So is that Henry Bennett or is that Jim Brooks?
Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe Henry's actually doing a little bit of substitute driving. I mean, I was in Discord. I did some chatting, and it definitely was my dad on Discord. So we'll say maybe stealing a little bit of that green car thunder at this point. But yeah, it's like you said, you're usually used to seeing that green car of Henry Bennett up front dominating these races. But right now, I'm sure Jim is enjoying what he's got in front of him right now, which is just nothing but clean air. So we're going to jump around a little bit because we got a couple good battles here. A big battle actually going on right now, Steve. Around 10th position, you've got Benjamin Combs, Alec Coates, Yard Drewpacker, Michael Spells right there. I mean, you've got a whole gaggle of cars here. Last week's winner, Jim Herrick, sitting right there in 14th position as well, just kind of trying to bide his time. But these guys are going after it right now. Oh, we see one down on the apron. Not sure if I think that may have been Scott Rankin. No, maybe not Scott Rankin. I saw a car in the apron, but looks like everybody's still up to speed here, so not 100% sure.
Jeff Hightown, maybe?
Yeah, so I'm checking lap times. I don't see anything that stands out, so I think maybe just was actually an intentional move to get down there. Maybe these guys being, I said, they heard you talking about not using the apron. They're like, hey, watch this, I can still do it.
Yeah, he did a big wiggle down there. He just, he did what I did during practice when I touched the apron. Just got off the gas briefly until he was back on the track.
And hop on board here now, Andrew Wood, because he ran the fastest lap of the race last time by in that 64. And now he's trying to work over Matt Wagner and the 89 of Nick Degroot. Charles Teed, he's been able to separate himself just a little bit. Steve finally got some breathing room with that back and forth battle between himself and the 11, starting to try to chase back down that number 51 machine. So I think we talked about Charles. He kind of always has some strategies that he's going for, and looks like tonight looks like going to be more on the aggression side from what I'm seeing. Fought hard to keep that second position, and again, I think he knows that right now he's in the best spot of those playoff drivers, so he wants to fight hard to keep that track position.
Yeah, definitely. And this is the kind of track that Charles Teed usually does very well at. Although I noticed that he's struggled quite a bit this year on tracks that are pushy like this. He tends to wear out his tires quicker than some of the other guys. So hopefully this is a sign that he's really figured something out and going to give these guys a real run tonight.
Oh, I think Andrew Wood off track here, Steve. He's down in pit road. I'm going to go back, try to see what happened. He's trying to reverse the car back out onto track. Let's go back, try to find it here real quick. As he comes out of it just snaps on him, Steve. It just steps out of turn number 4. No, I didn't see anything obvious there. Just that car just was not, something just did not click, and that car spins through the pits there. I think he gets away with it. I think it's just a big slide, no contact with any walls. But might be getting an unsafe pit penalty. Actually he's sitting on pit road now. So that's a huge heartbreaker for one of our championship contenders on race number 1. Honestly, I think one of the heavy hitters we expected to see tonight as well. So we'll see if Andrew can recover from that or not. Because again, still lots of racing to go. We're only on lap 15 here of 110, so just under 100 left. Well, we're going to jump back right behind you, Rick. So we got a big battle now going on between Nick Degroot now and Charles Teed. And while they've been doing this, it's allowed that 51 here to sneak away just a little bit more. But Nick now, look at the line he's running through. He's running a lot higher there, but then makes a big arc out of 4.
I see. He doesn't quite have enough room to get alongside Matt there. Or didn't.
All right, so I'm going to jump around again. Andrew is back out on track. Steve looks like 3 laps down right now. So he probably needs us to cycle through green flag pit stops and then get a timely caution. But actually, I'm going to go back because we talked about championship contenders. Jari Brubacher, he is fairly far off the pace here. I think that car must be suffering some damage as well. So I'm going to do one more hunt here to see what happened to Jari, because I say he has definitely dropped some positions here. Let me see if I can find if it was maybe in reaction to what happened earlier or if it's a separate event here. And right now, say, well, watch this number 49 car. Not seeing anything out of the ordinary yet. Oh yeah, again, just loots off 4, Steve.
Okay. I wonder if some of these guys are turning their weight jacker up so high that it just gets loose coming off the turn like that.
Yeah, it might be that pushing loose scenario. I'd say just too much wheel cranked into it, possibly. But you're saying, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Steve. I know you're starting to mention Matt Wagner, I believe, in the 11 car.
Yeah, he ducked under Charles T in 1 and 2, and I thought he was going to complete the pass, but he didn't. He's trying it again now in 3 and 4.
Yeah, you can see just clears that 50 car, but now again, here comes Charles. He's going to get the momentum back. These guys have just been going at it from pretty much the drop of the green. However, they've dropped about a second and a half now off of Nick Degroot. And man, Steve, we're gonna hop on board. We're gonna watch what this 89 car is doing, because he is making the topside work right now. I want to see this Jim maybe react to this, but right now he's almost caught the wall there in entry of 3. You heard him have to roll out of it there. Great reaction by that 89. I'm sure again probably felt got a little nervous that he was going to catch that wall there, but able to hang on to it. And now here comes Jim. Look at that. He's moving now to the top 2. He's going to try to play protect, and that's going to slow the momentum down of that 89 car. So I say Jim saw that Nick was gaining time up top here, but he's going to go back to the bottom in 3 and 4 to let Nick keep the top side. So it's very interesting seeing where we're going to see maybe some defensive driving as well from that 51. Try to keep that momentum over the 89.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that feeling when you're in the middle of the turn and your car starts going towards the wall. You don't have a lot of space to correct it. And sometimes even when you let off the gas completely, it's too late and it still pushes up into the wall. So Nick was either very lucky or very good there.
As I mentioned, of course, unfortunately, the incident with Andrew out of 4, saying that he's not the only one that's happened to now. It's also happened to Jari Brubacher. However, Andrew's making the most of his fresh tires here. He is trying to get himself back up, at least get one of those 3 laps back. So if he can get back to 2 down, like I said, it really opens up opportunities, because right now he's the only car a lap or more down. So if he can get to 2 down on merit, if there's a yellow, then he would get that wave around to get back to 1 lap down, and on the same pit strategy as well. So right now, I think that 64 car has probably got to be pretty aggressive here. Use those tires up, like I said, or of course the other option is to hope for a timely yellow, maybe in the middle of that pit stop cycle, to jump in front of the 89 and the 11 and the 51. And Steve, I think we might be seeing what you talked about, though. I think there was definitely a really strong short run pace for Charles T, but he's starting to fall back a little bit now. He's coming into the clutches of that 7 of Gary Corley. He's got Jeff Heisong right there, Alec Coates now as well. I need to mention Gary and Alec as well, because they are both 7 positions gained since the start of this race, Steve. So great opening stint for these guys. And again, these laps are clicking off fast, around 26 already of the 110. We talked about the fuel window being in that low to mid 30s, so possibly I'd say probably about 10 more laps maximum before we start to see these drivers most likely have to make their first scheduled pit stop.
Well, and that'll actually be somewhat to Andrew Wood's advantage for a little bit, because once all these guys have to pit, they'll all sort of, well, he'll probably still be a lap down, but if we get a caution flag before he has to pit again, then that would be.
I think that's exactly what he's going to be hoping for, is to get that timely caution. If he can get it, like you said, once the leaders pit, and then have a caution come out. So like I said, he can get at least 1 or more of those laps back. Ideally, honestly, yeah, if he can get the whole field. So basically, Andrew, he pitted at lap number 13 when he went off track there. Got sent into the pit road as well and had to serve a stop and hold, leave a 40-second hold for unsafe pit entry. So they just kind of rubbing salt on the wounds, if you will, there. But yeah, so I say that's what's dropped him those 3 laps down right here. But again, so basically, like you said, Steve, that gives you pretty much a 3-lap buffer right now. Or sorry, 13-lap buffer, I should say, for when you next have to pit over those guys around you. And I mean, and he's doing exactly what we just talked about, because he's putting down some laps just right now. Ran the fastest lap of the race of 25:24, about a quarter of a second faster than our leader Jim Brooks. And you can see he's actually gotten now around Nick Degroot. And I don't know if this is now a strategy call for him, because you can see the 51 is just gone. He's almost 2 seconds up over Nick Degroot. I'm wondering if Nick might be turning down his fuel map a little bit, maybe letting that 64 go around him, save some fuel, maybe try again. Maybe there's a potential of turning this into a 2-stop race, or just try to run a little further, make sure you get a lap led, because right now it's been the 51 since the drop of the green.
Yeah, either one of those could be what he's doing.
However, I'm not certain. I'll say right now we've got a good battle here. We've got Jeff Heisong, Charles Teed, Alec Coates, Scott Rankin. They are all right here with one another, battling very hard here, right outside, or at 5th and on back here. As again, Charles coming straight back to the inside. But again, I think really the man on the move to me right here so far is that 7 of Gary Corley. He's all the way up into 4th position from his 12th starting spot. That's a great start for that 7 car. And hopefully no commentators curse, because Gary's had to miss a lot of races with, unfortunately, some hardware issues on his computer. So it's great to have him back on track here. So he'll be also one of those drivers trying to go for that the non-playoff, if you will, for those drivers that were not in the top 8. So this is a great start for him as well here.
Jim Brooks just keyed up. I think he's pitting.
Yep, here he comes. He's hitting pit road here, and that's at lap 32, coming 33. Nice clean entry there, Steve. I didn't see any drama there, so that's great for him there. However, that shows you right here, this is going to be a 3-stop race for him as things run, because he's not going to be able to run any numbers to get him to 110. So that's going to be the next question now, is going to be how far can these other drivers go, and what will that magic number be to make it on a potential 2-stop race?
Well, Jim basically led every lap, so he had nobody to draft off of that whole time. So now we know at least how many laps you can go if you don't have a draft.
Yeah, exactly right. About 32, 33 full rich. Here comes Charles Teed. He's just hit pit road as well. And I'm showing the magic number, Steve, being around 37 laps. If they can go 37 laps on this run and the next run, they could make this on 2 stops. Do need to mention, of course, with Jim pitting there, that has put Andrew Wood now to 2 laps down with that pit cycle. Jim is back out on track here. Gary Corley now hitting pit road along with Alec Coates, Charles Teed, Yari Brubacher, just mentioned them. They're also on pit road right now. And so you can see pit road starting to get busy. Josh Lassen's in there as well here. So now the question is, like I said, Nick Degroot, can he stretch? I think that's what we're seeing here, Steve. I think that's why we saw that number drop off right now, because he's going to complete here lap number 36 as Matt Wagner hits pit road. I believe the 18 Jeff Heisong as well. So right now, Nick, I think he's going for that 2-stop strategy.
Yeah, and it looks like he may be able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, this looks like,
I think he'll pit this lap.
I say, we're going to hop on board. That's car's. Yeah, here he comes. Trying to tell if that car was sputtering or not. So it looked like he was a little bit down on speed there coming into the pit. But it looks like he's in the pit safely here. And he also bringing Jim Herrick and Michael Spell, so they've been stretching it. But right now, our biggest fuel saver at the moment now leading is Scott Rankin, Steve, in the 156 car. Along with him, you've got Jack Walls, Carl Henderson, Don Reedy. They're going even further here on this run.
That's definitely impressive.
So I'm presuming we'll probably see Scott in this time around. Yep, here comes Scott. He's going to send it into pretty aggressive entry. No, we'll see if he got down to speed or not. And just to kind of, again, show the fuel numbers, Jack Walls, Steve, he's going to go all the way now, it looks like, to at least 39. And the other thing, of course, look at the ticker on the left here. Right now, we've got basically 5 cars about to be on the lead lap as he's... Oh, actually, no, he's going to come out right behind the 89. So 6 cars on the lead lap as they cycle back out. And I think the 83 may have run his fuel out just a little bit too far here. So that's going to, I think that completes our cycle here, Steve. That's going to put it back into the hands of that 51 of Jim Brooks. Again, though, I'm looking at the fuel numbers, though. Nick Degroot hitting on 36, coming to 37. But right now, 4 seconds off, and he has no drafting help behind him, Steve. Or in front of him, I should say. He's got the 99 behind him. Matt Wagner trying to chase him down as well. So this is interesting. I mean, this is all based on things going green, but right now, I mean, Jim's got a big lead here. He's just said, you know what, I'm just going to go full rich. I'm just going to try to put big gaps on everybody right now. And like I said, I mean, he's doing that right now. He ran about 0.4 of a second faster than the 89 car that last time around.
Yeah, he's got a substantial lead. I guess the question I would ask is, Nick Degroot and Matt Wagner are pretty much together. Are they going to be able to work together to catch Jim or not?
I think at this point, I don't think so. I think without a caution, I think it's going to be all about fuel strategy. And right now, the driver that's in the best position, I think, is going to be Nick Degroot. But like I said, right now, he's got zero drafting help. So right now, he might be running a low mixture. I mean, he could be running, again, they run maps 1 through 5, 1 being full rich, 5 being full, not full lean, but basically the full lean on a race pace. And I mean, the fact that Nick is running about 0.2 slower lap than Jim kind of leads me to believe he is running a higher map there to run a little leaner, save a little bit more fuel. But like I said, he's not really getting caught there by that 99 of Jimmy Drynan or the 11 of Matt Wagner. So I think Matt's doing the same thing as Matt pitted on 35. And Matt's been pretty much drafting off of that 99 car this whole run as well. But the ones we know for sure, I think, that are good to go on fuel, Scott Rankin in that 156 car. He went to lap 37, and he's got draft in front of him with Josh Laston. But at the moment is sitting 13 seconds off the lead. But as you know, Steve, I mean, these cars, they run 25-second laps. 13 seconds, that's nothing if he can go one less top if we stay green.
Oh yeah, that's a race winning strategy, I think.
Yeah, the question, of course, is Nick Degroot. I think he's going to be the one to watch. And again, right now, he still leads that second group. So what we'll do here, Steve, while we have a moment, while things are kind of settled in, let's run through the field here. So obviously been mentioning our race leader, 51, Jim Brooks. He's pretty much laid flag to flag apart from pit stop cycles. Behind him, Nick Degroot. You can see, again, 5.6 second gap between himself and that 89 car. But I think a lot of differing strategies right now. 2 stops versus 3 stops, I think, is what we're seeing right here. In third position, Matt Wagner there in the 11 car. I think same thing. I think thinking big picture here, thinking points, thinking fuel. If he can get rid of one pit stop, that's going to be a big help for him. In fourth position, you got the 18 of Jeff Heisong. And then in fifth position, Alec Coates in that 3 car. He's gained 9 positions since the start of the race. And another one of our high climbers right behind him, number 7, Gary Corley, up to 6th position. And we saw Charles Teed early and was aggressive early, but I think, again, we talked about maybe that long run pace just hasn't been there, unfortunately, for Charles, I'm sorry, but it seems like it's falling again. Let's say he had great early run pace, Steve, just unfortunately kind of fell off as the run progressed there. And then behind him, you got the 4 of AJ Hobson. And then in 9th, you've got Josh Laston in that 09 machine, was so close to making it into the top 8 in the points. Unfortunately, it was just a few points short, I should say. And then rounding our top 10, that 156 of Scott Rankin. Again, went one of the furthest on fuel of the drivers in that top 10. In 11th, you've got the 88 of Michael Spell. In 12th, Yari Brupacher. Great recovery for Yari after doing some off-road excursions there on the front stretch. He sits in 12th. Benjamin Combs in 13th position in that 77. 14th is Carl Henderson. Haven't talked a lot about Carl tonight, Steve, but he's 8 spots gained up into 14th. So started towards the back. I mean, he's made ground, but just hasn't had the track position, I think, for him. But he's also one of those drivers that went really long on fuel, so that could bode well for him. I think he's been on a fuel strategy as well. 15th, the 60 of Joseph Morales. 16th, you've got the 48 of James Ledford. Don Reedy in 17th. And then I believe right now, yeah, Don Reedy and Jack Walls are the last 2 drivers who are on the lead lap currently in 18th. And then Jimmy Drynan right now, the first car 1 lap down now in the 20th position. And again, still sitting right behind that 89 car of Nick Degroot. So Nick's still burning fuel. And I need to mention Andrew Wood just now leaving pit road, Steve, so didn't get the caution he needs. He has to roll back out on track here. Right now is 2 laps down. This is going to put him back to 3 right now as you see the 51 go around him. But this could be a break for Andrew if he can try to chase back down that 51 car, as I say, because he's got nobody between himself and that 51. And I believe Jim Herrick, unfortunately, in pit road in the 40 machine, has been sitting there for a significant amount of time. So I think, unfortunately, some big issues for that 40 machine. So right now, 20 cars still on track, 18 of which I believe are on the lead lap.
And we have gone caution free thus far. Let's look at our championship contenders. We have Nick Degroot in the lead of all those people. And then he's in second place. Matt Wagner in third. Charles Teed.
Jeff Heisong also is one of the championship contenders. And then Charles Teed in 7th.
Okay, yep, Jeff Heisong in 4th. Yari Brupacher in 12th.
And then I think, unfortunately, Andrew Wood right now, the last of those who are here tonight, but last of those on track of our playoff contenders in 20th. Again, unfortunately, had that big snap on exit out of turn number 4. But man, Steve, this is pretty interesting because right now, again, as things run here, this is all based on things going caution free, but lap by lap here, Jim's going about 4 or 5 tenths of a second quicker than the rest of the field. Well, I shouldn't say the rest of the field, but at least those right behind him, like Nick Degroot, Matt Wagner and company. I mean, again, I don't think it's going to be enough to offset the extra pit stop he's going to have to take, but I think it could really limit the damage because, I mean, again, he's 9 seconds up on second place. You start going down into the teens. I mean, he's got about 16, 17, 18 seconds on these guys. And again, this number just keeps on growing right now. So, and he's also about to start catching some traffic. So this could hinder his gains a little bit. Or does he use this as an opportunity to maybe try to save fuel? Or does he? I mean, at this point, I think you're kind of you made your bed here. I think you just got to go with it and kind of stay aggressive.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm thinking that he probably needs to have a 20 or 25 second lead in order to have a chance on making it on one more fuel stop. And I think the reason he's pulling away from these guys the way he is these guys must Degroot and Dryden and Matt Wagner and this whole group here must be in a different fuel map, saving fuel.
Yeah, I think at this point he's decided, like, hey, I'm just going to run my own race. Well, the chips will fall where they do, and just kind of let it ride, if you will. Like you said, with Nick Degroot and them, though. And again, I'm still a little skeptical for Nick. Like I said, I mean, he did run the 36 laps, coming to 37s when he pitted. But again, he's had nobody to draft off of here. Obviously, he's definitely, I think, for sure running a lower fuel map. So I think the next magic number we talked about being 37, so that's going to be what, Steve? Probably about 74 would be the next number for these guys to aim for if they want to try to make it on this final stop?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, possibly, from 73 if they really save on the last segment, because then you got one of them's going to be 37, one's going to be 36 laps. So whichever order you do it in doesn't really matter.
Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting. I'm still keeping an eye on Andrew Wood. He is closing the gap on Jim. He's down to probably about, I would say, 2 to 3 seconds in a 64 car. Again, trying to get one of those 3 laps back right now. I'm saying he is definitely closing, like I said, and I think Jim also is going to start getting into that dirty air behind the 89 the 83 and the 00. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as well. But yeah, this will be interesting to say. I do want to keep an eye though on this 51 car, because I mean, how could he go to a map 5 here? I feel like it's probably too late at this point to try to run that numbers, because I mean, him hitting at 32, I mean, that would basically, you have to gain 4 laps from that first run plus a little bit on this current run. So I don't think mathematically that's possible. But I am watching the gap, so they haven't been growing as much as they had been earlier. So I think might be dirty air, might be a little bit of fuel saving now for that 51 car.
Or it could be his tires could have gone away at this point, and these guys having the draft is allowing them to to go slower but go faster, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, exactly right. I'm saying I think you got the pretty much the commitment here for the 2-stop. It's going to be or 3-stop. I'm sorry, Charles Teed. He hits pit road in that number 50. I think actually kind of short pitting a little bit to probably split this run into thirds, if you will. So we'll probably see Charles here pitting now, coming at 49 to go, 50 to go for him. So probably do one more around 25 to go. But so yeah, so he's going to need this thing to stay green. Also doesn't want to get trapped a lap down with the cautions. However, do you need to mention Andrew Wood? He has gotten around the 51 car, so he's back to 2 laps down now in that number 64 car. So that's obviously a good break for him now. Just needs, I mean, at this point, just honestly just needs a yellow.
Yep. And the way things are going, it doesn't look like he's going to get it.
Yeah, so far, I mean, this is not what I would have expected here tonight, Steve. I would have never guessed that a leader would be able to build out to a 10-plus second lead over the rest of the field. As Jim's going to come out right behind Charles Teed. I say right now Teed is 1 lap down, right on the edge of going 2 down. But again, like you said, Steve, fresh tires. I don't think that's going to pose any issues for Charles. I don't think he'll be at risk of getting caught by that 51 car. However, though, like I said, that dirty air, though, it is starting to bring the pace of the 51 a little bit down here, as Josh Laston, as he just hits pit road now in the 09 car. Also, again, one of those that's obviously going to be on the 3-stop strategy as well here tonight. And then also we got still Jeff Hysong right here with Matt Wagner and Nick Degroot. So these guys are all kind of just hanging in together here. It's brought Gary Corley into the mix now as well in the 6 car, or sorry, the 7 car in 6th position, I should say. So yeah, this is right now. This is really a strategy race, Steve. It's looking like.
Jim Brooks is pitting.
All right, Steve. So here comes our leader coming to pit road, coming at 46 to go, approaching 45 to go. Again, second of his 3 stops. So this will be interesting. Also, another thing to keep an eye on here, Steve, is when he pits. Did he have enough of a lead, maybe preventing him from even going a lap down in the first place, or is the pace just too high for that to happen? So we'll have to keep an eye on that as well. He's bringing Yari Brupacher, one of our playoff cars, in along with him. That's going to cycle the lead now over to the 89 of Nick Degroot. As I believe right now, yeah, everybody's still holding pretty station here right behind him. I say Matt Wagner's, I think Matt's going full fuel save. So basically, here for Nick Degroot, he needs to try to go, what now, 6 to 7 more laps here to safely be able to try to pull this off on a 2-stopper.
And I can tell you, this is killing Matt right now.
This, yeah, say field mileage racing is very, very difficult. Didn't you mention, we saw there the 51, he just came out of the pits. He is a lap down as they run. But we talked about fresh tires, so we'll probably see that 51 pretty much, I think, steam through these guys. Again, there's no point for him to save fuel because he's got 43 to go. We talked about 37 maybe being about the max these guys can probably realistically run anyway. So, I mean, at this point, he would already be still 7-8 laps short. So there's just no way. He's just got to kind of pedal to the metal and see, like I said, kind of let the chips fall where they may. But right now, we're going to keep an eye on this battle up front here because, yeah, right now it's definitely a strategy race right now here, Steve. We got pretty much the top 6 drivers all within about a second or 2 of each other, all trying to make this fuel window work. But the 2 that I think the 3 in the best conditions are Degroot, Wagner, and Hysong. I'm a little nervous about Coates, Corley, and Hobson because they pitted on 34. Actually, Hobson on 35, I'm sorry, but he's had to chase these guys back down, probably burning a little extra fuel. As actually Andrew Wood back in the pits. I'm not sure if this, well, it looks like it may have been scheduled there. Show that he went off track for a moment, so not sure if that was a reaction to that or not. Let's see. Oh, Gary Corley on the front stretch crashed. Oh, big hit by Michael Spell, trying to avoid him. That's most likely going to, yep, caution's out here, Steve. Going to completely change the complexion of this race. Something happened to the 7, and then trying to get the car looped around, unfortunately, gets caught by the 88 car, and that's exactly what the 51 did not want to see. Well, yeah, I'm torn if he wanted to see that or not. I think he'll be the... Actually, will he be the lucky dog? I believe he will.
I'm showing him as the first car lap down.
Yeah, so I think he will get the wave around. Let's go back. Let's find out what happened to Gary here. That was a big hit, though, for Gary after that. Let's go. Let's say, and I'm wondering if it had any relation to Andrew Wood here, because Andrew Wood also had an off-track excursion here, actually down the backstretch. Let's speed it up here. Yeah, something happened to Andrew, possibly out of turn 2. Now we're going to find Gary, see if it's related. No, it's not related. Actually, it was way earlier than that. So, yeah, we'll focus on Gary here to see what happened here for him. So he's running the low side. Oh, man. Jim Brooks almost gets in the back of Gary. Same thing, just snap out of 4. But then Gary tries to get this car looped back around, but unfortunately we're going to see the 88 of Michael Spell coming with a huge head of steam. Didn't expect to see Gary try to come across the track there. So it's just two drivers trying to kind of go the same route, and unfortunately a big hit between the two of them. So we'll jump back live here, Steve, because we've got pit stops for our leaders here.
How many sets of tires do these guys have?
I don't think there's any limits.
Okay, so Jim Brooks, if he's smart, he just got the lucky dog. He'll come in and pit and get fresh tires.
And it looks like Matt Wagner, Steve, going to win the race off of pit road over Nick Degroot. So that's a big development there as well. That's a good pit stop for him. And Steve, so here's my thought too. If you're Jim Brooks, you were the last car, or you're going to be the last car in the lead lap. You're going to restart behind the field here. I think it's a no-brainer here. I think you have to stay out, you have to top off. You basically get all the fuel you can. And at this point, I think you just run this a fuel mileage race and kind of see, same thing, can these guys run the number? Because we're going to be restarting this race. Right now we're at 39 to go. Probably be 36, 37 to go with them pitting at that 39 to go or so mark. It's going to be tight for them to be able to make it to the end. Whereas if he tops off, if nobody else does, he'll have that couple tenths of a gallon to his advantage.
Yep, and it'll be interesting to see who all decides to top off here.
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting. Another driver that's really getting hampered by this too, unfortunately, Charles Teed. He's going to have to take the wave around, Steve, and so he's not even going to get the opportunity to try to benefit from that pit strategy. He's just going to have to take a wave around, and honestly, he's going to have to hope for a yellow because, again, he's not in the window either to make it to the end. He still needs one more stop. Same thing goes for Josh Laston in that 09 car. Yari Brupacher here as well. AJ Hobson in the 4. And then in front of them also the 77 of Benjamin Combs, I think actually was 2 down. This is going to put him back to 1 lap down. And do need to mention, unfortunately, it looks like that 64 of Andrew Wood has retired. So tough start for the playoffs for him. I must say, definitely one of the favorites we saw coming into tonight.
I'm going to make a prediction here. I'm going to go at least from Scott Rankin on back. Every one of them is going to come in and top off.
It's going to be interesting, yeah.
Will Matt Wagner and Nick Degroot. You know that they're in total fuel save mode right now.
Oh, yeah. You know these guys are running map 8, I believe it is, for under caution. But, yeah, you're right, though. Who's going to be the first to hit pit road? So, actually, let's do this. Let's go to our pit lane camera here. And let's see who are the takers. And so far, Steve, here comes. It's going to be Carl Henderson, Jack Walls, Joseph Morales, James Ledford. They're going to all hit pit road here and top off. Jim Brooks, like we talked about, he hits pit road as well. So it's going to be 5 drivers here pitting to top off their fuel numbers. And I think, again, I think that's the right call. And so now it's going to be that race to see who's the first out with that splash of fuel, which it was Carl Henderson that was fastest on entry, but actually a slower stop for him. So I believe it's going to be a drag race. Actually, looks like between... Oh, no, actually, Jim's just now coming into his pits. It's going to be Jack Walls, the first out on pit road there with just a splash of fuel over Carl Henderson. And then Joseph Morales, Jim Brooks, and James Ledford. So we've got 12 drivers. Well, actually, no, scratch that. We've got 15 drivers on the lead lap. 16 drivers, now that I'm looking at my numbers better. Yeah, 16 on the lead lap from... I'm trying to see who all took the wave around. I think from Charles Teed on back had to take the wave around. But yeah, Steve, we're going to restart this thing with 36 to go. These drivers pitted under yellow with about 39 to go. If we go green, this fuel mileage is going to get very interesting here.
Well, the guys up front, the ones that didn't pit, so we got, let's see, the top 5. So I missed by one spot. Scott Rankin was the last one that didn't pit. These guys up front are going to have to save more than the guys who pitted, but they're all going to have to save because the least laps that anybody has to go is 36, which is still
exactly right. 36 is still a long number, and again, this is all based on this thing going green to the end too. So I'll say don't count your chickens, if you will. However, the one driver that's really made the most of this so far, let's say that being said, he's going to have to really hustle here as he's working with Scott Rankin right now, trying to get around him, is Jack Walls. He's already up into 7th position after that pit stop. Let's say Jim Brooks said he is at the very back of the field again, the wave around car, so he was going to have to restart at the back regardless. But right now, Jack Wall is the highest running of those that topped off on that one to go in that 7th spot. So now I think it's gonna be a race of basically who wants to actually lead this race, because none of these guys. It's all strategy right now. We saw Nick Degroot. Nobody wanted to pass him under that run. And so I think we're going to see the same thing now. I think these guys are not going to want to go around Matt Wagner because they want to save every drop of fuel they can behind that 11 car.
Yep, absolutely. And Matt's unfortunately going to be sitting there thinking, I don't really want to be leading right now.
And I think he's got to basically make it the least enticing, if you will, to follow him. I think he needs to run map 5. He needs to run the inside line, run the shorter distance, kind of basically run the shortest distance you can to help your fuel numbers out, and then just see the same thing, kind of see where everything lies, because even with him running map 5 here, that could be enough even without the draft. We don't know exactly what the numbers are map 1 to map 5. I mean, there's so many ranges that these guys can run. But of course, Nick Degroot, I think what he's going to do is wait. He's going to try to just save off of Matt. And then maybe once he's in his window where he knows from, okay, I can turn the wick up here. I'm going to turn this thing to map 1, and I'm going to send it. Then that's where Matt's going to have to try to either react or knows he can't react because of him leading this whole run. Yeah, that timing of the yellow, Steve, man, it's throwing a wrench into everything. But here comes Jack Walls. He is in this lead pack now without any distance. So this is up for grabs here. Joseph Morales, he's right there as well. Carl Henderson's creeping into the picture. It's really anybody's guess right here.
Yeah, I think I would be most curious about what Carl Henderson does here because I forget which race it was, but one recently where
Homestead, maybe?
Where everybody ahead of him was playing fuel strategy.
Michigan.
Okay, and he just kind of marched right up through everybody. He decided, I'm not saving fuel, and it worked out really well for him.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be very interesting because, again, like you said, those that topped off Jack Walls, this is where actually, if I'm Jack right now, I just go full fuel save right now, save every little bit I can in this nice big draft here, and then you should be able to get yourself in that magic window to make it to the end sooner than the guys around you. Then you turn your car back up to map 1, let's say maybe with a lap or 2 earlier than a Matt Wagner and Nick Degroot who did not top off. I mean, again, those couple tenths of a gallon could be the difference between who can win this race if we go green to the end here. If we get a caution, I think all bets are off. I think from here, probably everybody's good to go without pitting. So it's all close.
And I think the funny thing right now is look how close the entire field is to each other.
Oh yeah, this has turned into a Talladega race completely. Just because, again, I think everybody they saw what happened to Jim. They saw how much time you lose when you have to make a pit stop. Even with that 10-second lead, there's nothing like staying out of these cars and avoiding a pit stop because, again, you got 26, 25-second lap times here. I mean, you're going to be going down the pit road at 65 miles an hour while these guys are going about probably 220, I would say. I mean, there's just nothing you can do. You're sitting duck if you have to go that extra stop.
I mean, this is basically a slow motion Talladega race. And Jimmy Drynan has decided he's had enough. He's now bolted into the lead.
This is exactly what Matt Wagner wants right now. He says, "Oh, thank you, Jimmy. Yes, you do you, man. You go. You lead this race. I'm gonna save every drop of fuel I can." But like we said, Steve, if there's a caution, I mean, now it's honestly, I think Jimmy Drynan, he probably stays out. He goes to map 8. He saves every ounce of fuel under yellow because now he's going to have that track position. He doesn't have to worry about all this traffic like we were talking about. When you look at some of these guys, the gaggles they're in, I mean, look where Don Reedy is here in that 00 car. He's got Yari Brubacher right there with him. He's got Gary Corley right here. You've got Charles Teed right here. Again, so many different agendas for these guys. Some on lead laps, some not. And we've seen some drivers get loose and spin themselves out of turn number 4. and that was without a giant draft of cars like they have right now. So this is not a done deal with this thing going green to the end. I say we're just running the numbers based on that, but there's no guarantees that we'll make it.
I'm kind of surprised that Dryden has run off as far as he has. It doesn't look like he's concerned with saving fuel right now at all.
I think he's kind of doing the same approach as that 51. I said, you know what, screw it, I'm going. It's going to be what it is. So like you said, Steve, I think Jimmy's taking the Jim Brooks approach, and he's probably just went full map one. He's like, all right, I'm sending it, and that's kind of like you said, that's kind of forced Matt's hand. What does Matt do? Do you turn the wick up to try to stay in the draft of that 99 car, or do you need to stay with your strategy of running that fuel map to make it to the end? So right now Jimmy's kind of trying to force these guys' hands, honestly, too, and that might be part of it too. Is hey, I'm gonna speed up the pace of this race, and maybe I can run everybody out of fuel where nobody can make it to the end.
That's possible also. I would say that I think Matt would probably in this situation run the leanest fuel map that he can possibly run while still being able to stay in the draft.
Yeah, I think so as well. And that's the thing. These cars, they do put a big draft, Steve. Usually it's about a second and a half, I think, is roughly the range of where you pick up the draft. So right now, Matt's got about half a second between himself and Jimmy, so easily in that draft window. Right now, we're pretty much, like we talked about, it looks like the top 16 drivers are all kind of all in this group together here. So it's really anybody's guess right now. But again, the drivers that topped off, Jack Wallace, he's still the furthest up of those that did top off here in 7th position. But he's been in a pretty decent battle here for a good chunk of this one. So the ones I'm watching, though, are those that have kind of stayed towards the back that we talked about. You got Joseph Morales in the 60 car, Jim Brooks right there with him now. He's starting to make a little bit of ground up as well in the 51. And then right there also is the 42 of Carl Henderson. He's another one of those that topped up. And then you got those guys that had to take the wave rounds. They know they have to make one more pit stop. That's going to be Josh Last in the 09 car, the 49-yard Brewpacker, Charles Teed in the 50. So there's still a lot of stuff going on here strategy-wise. And, yeah, there's still a handful of cars that are they're going to have to pit.
And I think it's going to be really close for Matt Wagner, Nick Degroot, and these guys, the 5 that stayed out, that didn't come in and top off under that last caution.
Yep. So
they would have had, 3 laps more running under caution than the guys that topped off?
Yeah. They all, well, it's like, about 2 actually. Looks like it shows the leaders pitting at 71. Jack Wall's pitting at 73. So in theory, about 2 laps difference. Again, that might, I'm guessing roughly I'm going to say the difference was probably about 2 to 4 tenths of a gallon, I would say, most likely. I'd say half gallon at the absolute most, because again, these guys are great at fuel saving. But again, I mean, they were restarting this race at 36 to go, and we knew that was on the very edge of a fuel window regardless. So it's gonna be intriguing to see. I mean, we saw last week too, Steve. We thought we saw Yari. We thought he was good to go. He was gonna make it happen. Then he just didn't save quite enough. Sputtered coming out of turn number 4, and that let Jim Herrick grab the win away from him. So we could see another one of those tonight, where, like I said, maybe Jimmy Dryan, the pace he's putting, it might run a few of these guys out, just making them run just that little bit harder than they wanted to.
And if we stay green to the end, the most unfortunate thing is going to be for the guys that took the waiver on, because they're all going to have to pit once more.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, they would still have to make a pit stop. So right now, we're just kind of going around looking at some of the closer battles on track here. Charles Teed's been going at it here with Don Reedy. Looks like now going to grab that spot in the 50 machine. But again, Charles, another one that he's going to have to still make a pit stop in that 50 car. T last pit on lap number 60. There's just no way he can make that happen. Same thing, Gary Brewpacker pitting on 65. Oh, I got Gary Corley down on the apron. Looks like he's just rolling out of the way. Actually, he was a couple laps down. Other drivers I'm a little concerned about. A.J. Hobson pitted on 69. I don't think that he could stretch that number, but we'll see. He's probably the closest of those that had to take the wave around. Josh Lassen pitted on 63. He's going to for sure have to make a pit stop as well. So, but right now, like I said, I mean, we're already down. We're getting to it though, Steve. We're 13 to go, and again, these lap times, 25, 26 second laps. We're going to see that pit window for some guys. They're going to be opening very shortly, and other guys are going to be hoping, banking on maybe get a timely yellow where they don't have to make that green flag pit stop.
Yep, and I think you said Josh Lassen pitted on 63.
Yes.
So I expect somewhere in the next couple laps he's probably going to have to pit because he'll hit 37 laps at lap 100.
Yeah, so I'll have to keep an eye. And that's the other part, too, is trying to maybe pit in front of cars around you. So that's always a tricky situation. Actually, as we mentioned, that here comes Charles Teed. He pitted at 60, Steve. He's in now. Unfortunately, did not get that yellow he was looking for as we're down to 11 laps to go. Again, Charles, one of our playoff contenders. But right now, though, Jimmy Drennan, like I said, he's thrown fuel saving to the wind. He's just said, let's just run. I'm just going to run this thing out, see what happens. Because, again, the other thing, Steve, I haven't even talked about, this Indy Series, they do not do green-white checkered finishes. So if we get a caution with, let's say, 4 to go, it's probably going to finish under yellow here. Josh Lassen does hit pit road, Steve. Actually, as I was looking at that, he hits pit road for his final stop. But yeah, I mean, if there's a timely yellow for Jimmy here, as I'm saying that, he's kind of drifting as if he might be hitting pit road there. I'm not sure if he was letting the drivers know. We'll keep it high. No, he stays out. But yeah, I mean, if we get a 4, let's say 4 to go yellow, I mean, you don't know. This is going to get very dicey. But right now, he's gone. I mean, Matt Wagner now is second and a half behind. I think these two are starting to jockey with each other, figure out when's the right time to make the move here, try to win this race tonight.
So I forgot who it was that had pitted on lap 60, but they made 40 laps.
So that's 40 laps, including a couple caution laps. I mean, I would say that's probably about 37. Yari Brubacher, he just hit pit road right now in the 49 car. So the only one that leaves now that took the wave around, I believe, is Don Reedy and just AJ Hobson. And again, still Jack Wall's the only driver that has that topped off. He's the furthest up, still in 7th position. But Jimmy Drennan, he's still yet to make his final pit stop here, and we're down to 7 laps remaining.
Nick Degroot has just taken the lead. I think Matt Wagner must have realized that he wasn't going to make it if he didn't get behind somebody and draft for a while.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Or does Matt think his best chance to win this race is going to be behind that 89 car? So it's all starting to kick off right now. But again, though, I say we're thinking this is the battle for the win. But actually, yeah, you're right, Steve. Nick Degroot, he's dropped the hammer. So he's really starting to build the gap now up to over half a second over Matt Wagner. Jimmy Drennan, looks like he's starting. I think that's exactly it here, Steve. I think Nick Degroot said, all right, 6 to go. I'm at my number. I should be able to make it to the end. So now he's just got to make sure, hopefully he did his math right, because also now he's running the top side too, Steve. That's that little extra distance, that could burn a little more fuel. 5 to go.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, either his numbers told him he could make it, or his numbers said you're not going to make it, you have to top off, so you may as well go as fast as you can and top off at the last second. But I think, I mean, that move shows a lot of confidence. I believe he feels he can make it.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same. You wouldn't be saving that long and then do that. So, and like you said, that's showing a lot of confidence though out of him. And the other thing too, I mean, I gotta say, hats off here to Jimmy in the 99 car, because again, he's been going full aggression here. He's at 4 to go. He's still yet to pit, and now he's gonna start getting hounded now by Nick Degroot here, trying to get that lead. And here comes Nick. He's gonna work the low side here, and Nick Degroot's gonna take the lead.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
All right, Steve, 3 to go here at Kansas. Did he go too soon? Does he have enough to make it to the end? What does Jimmy have in the tank still too? I just don't see any way Jimmy can make it to the end. I think he's going to have to make a late splash. But same thing, Matt Wagner, does he have a late charge? Because last time by, Matt was the quickest car on track. Maybe that 11 car still got something up his sleeves. But Jimmy Drennan here, Steve, he is going for it. We got 2 to go. I think he's going to basically run this one out to the very last drop.
If Dryden makes it, I will be absolutely shocked.
I would definitely be in the same boat as you, but right now,
he just keyed up.
Okay, so here, unfortunately for Jimmy, he's going to have to pit here, coming to the white flag. Was probably hoping for that late yellow like you talked about. So now does Nick Degroot, does he have the fuel to make it one more time around under power here? Because he's got Matt Wagner only 0.6 of a second behind him. Scott Rankin now up into third, but he's in a thick battle here with Jeff Hysong. But we're going to keep an eye on this battle because we don't know who's going to have what field numbers at the end. But right now, Nick Degroot's going to try to hold off a late charge from this 11 car. It looks like he's done it, Steve. Out of 4, it's going to be Nick Degroot getting the win over Matt Wagner. That battle for third going to go to Scott Rankin. Jeff Hysong fourth. Alec Coates finishes in 5th. Jack Wall's going to rebound up into the 6th position. A great result for Don Reedy here, Steve. He's going to finish in the 7th position. And you got Joseph Morales 8th. Jim Brooks, I mean, he's going to be disappointed. There's no question about it. But, I mean, that was just a complete domination of that first half. But, again, the fuel mileage just wasn't on his side, that the different strategies. And then rounding out our top 10 is going to be Carl Henderson. But it's going to be Nick Degroot, who I think, Steve, he's going to somehow have some fuel for some donuts here as well. That's going to be impressive in itself.
Yeah, definitely. He did a tremendous job of saving fuel. And I gotta I have to give a shout out to Matt Wagner because, Matt was in a position where he had to try and save fuel as best he could. But Jimmy Drynan had pulled so far away that it was hard for Matt to get a draft and save fuel. So for him to have saved well enough to make it to the end, I think and come in second, I think that's a great job.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is it's big picture racing. Again, we talked about the playoff drivers. We'll definitely be going into more detail as well. So first we'll pull up our results before we get to those interviews. So it's going to be Nick Degroot with the win over Matt Wagner by about a second. Scott Rankin in 3rd, Jeff Hysong 4th, Alec Coates in 5th. And then you got Jack Walsh, Don Reedy, Joseph Morales, Jim Brooks, Carl Henderson, our top 10. And then 11th on back, you've got James Ledford, AJ Hobson, Jimmy Drynan, Charles Teed, Yari Brupacher, Michael Spell, Benjamin Combs, and Josh Laston. And then the remainder of the field, unfortunately, say Gary Corley, Andrew Wood, not the Knights they were hoping for. Same with Jim Herrick in 21st position there tonight. So yeah, so really on the playoff side of things, the drivers that got the hurt the most, obviously the two that missed tonight, Craig Forsyth, Henry Bennett, obviously a big hit for them. But honestly, a lot of drivers not the Knights they wanted. Andrew Wood in 20th. I mean, he's the one that stands out the most, unfortunately. But then I mean, look at Charles Teed, Yari Brupacher, 14th and 15th as well. So I mean, there were some big playoff drivers there that did not get the results they wanted here tonight, Steve. So that being said, though, we definitely have 2 drivers that are going to be very happy, I think, with their results, at least on the playoff side of things. And I say we're going to start off with our first of those being our non-playoff driver, and that's going to be the 3rd place driver of Scott Rankin. All right, we're going to drag Scott on over here. Man, I don't think, could that caution have come at a more tedious time for you guys? I mean, that's right on the fuel number. It was obvious from the get-go. Some are going just pretty much, I'm just going to send it and kind of let the cautions fall where they may. Others played the fuel strategy on those first couple runs, and then you get that yellow with, I think it was about, 39 to go. You know you can run in that upper mid-30 range on fuel. I mean, how tense was that knowing when that yellow came, and then the strategy of staying out versus topping off to try to make that strategy happen?
Track position was key, first and foremost, but to be perfectly honest, I was actually more disappointed that caution came out because I was good on fuel, and I think I was the only guy in sort of that lead 10 that was actually good on fuel. So I'm actually deflated as anything because that robbed me of a win here tonight. So it is what it is. You take those, but yeah, it was a mix of knowing what cars you needed to get by. So there was a section probably with about 25 to go there where Jimmy Drynan and I were just side by side, lap after lap after lap, and Alex Coates was right there as well. So I had to just be conscious of, do I want the track position now? Maybe burn off a little bit of tire, burn off a little bit of that fuel, or do I want to have that extra fuel up my sleeve? I was looking at the numbers, and then Jimmy took off, and I looked at it, and I was like, look, I think I need to be ahead of Alec. I think if I'm this far back, I don't grab any more spots. And it just turned out to be the right call. You had to make a play for track position at some point during that run. If you left it to the last minute, it was too late. If you went too early, then you were just dead in the water. So, I mean, what a great race, though, because it was the art of going slow fast.
Yeah, we were. I compared it to uh, slow speed Talladega at one point when you guys were all trying to save fuel.
Yeah, look, I mean, you say slow speed Talladega, but for me, anytime I've run stock cars at Talladega, it's been precisely that. It's been that back and forth fuel battle. Up until the cautions come out, it's just about surviving through that caution period. But oh man, look, that was so much fun. And Jeff Heisong and I on the last couple laps, I really had to outthink him and outplay him. And oh man, the battles right up and down the field were just phenomenal. I think there's a lot of guys right now that aren't looking at the fuel numbers, and I think they've got a lot to learn. But that's where my real forte is looking at strategies, looking at alternate strategies, and trying to set myself up by thinking through the race. So.
Scott, speaking of that, on that last caution, I had predicted that you were going to be the first one to top off, and I missed by one spot. How were you thinking about it, and what was it? Just track position that made you stay out?
It was track position. I think when we went back green, I think it was fifth, and it was just sort of the right spot. I definitely think Carl made the right call behind me. If I was in his shoes, would I have done it? Oh, it's too tough to tell. If you reverse the roles there, and he's in fifth and I'm in sixth and he pits, I think I'm still staying out there. I think he made a choice. It was a difficult decision. The problem was with that decision is that he had to make up that track position early. So he needed to be very, very aggressive on that restart to make it work such that he was attached to the tail end of the lead pack. Then he would go into fuel saving mode. And then you'd have a longer period of pushing whereby you could just be more aggressive. The other factor was tires tonight. They were definitely fading. Car was definitely getting quite tight, particularly mid and off. And then coming off of the hump, off of 4 as well, the car was actually really squirrely and unsettled, and I'm happy coming over that, depending on your weight jacker numbers. So look, I mean, it was a tricky call. I think the right call was to stay out. I really, really do. Because would Nick, Matt, or I have been able to make our way back up to where we finished? I don't think so. Is the end result?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, you finished third, so I think it was definitely the right call.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's still one of those ones that I probably play 50-50 every single time, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah.
Like, that's how tight it was, so I don't know. I think I did a great job actually fuel saving under the. I probably have done the best fuel saving numbers today I think I've ever done, and the proof is in the pudding. So, woo!
Yeah, no, and that's saying, like you said, I mean, that's what you work on, and you said the fuel strategy. I think, like you mentioned too, I think you were one of the ones that went the furthest, and then in the furthest up, I think closest to you then was Degroot. I think a lap before you, so like you said, the numbers were definitely looking good before that yellow, but. Yeah, is the strategy? I mean, like you said, it's all up in the air. I mean, you could go aggressive and try to save fuel right off the bat, or you could try to be aggressive to grab this track position, then save fuel. Because basically the highest finisher of those that did top off was the 83 of Jack Walsh, who finished in sixth. So, you kind of take the good with the bad, if you will. But yeah, just awesome result tonight. Like I said. It was definitely a little bit of everything tonight. Some full-on drivers going full send, others going fuel mileage from the get-go, and then of course that last run it was just kind of all up for grabs there at the end. But just great result though to grab that third position, man. And before we let you go though, I know you got some good-looking sponsors on the side of that car too, and I know you do plenty on the broadcast side as well. It's always fun to kind of be able to chat with you as well. So definitely want to give you the floor for thanks and shouts for that third place tonight.
Yeah, I cannot say a big enough thank you to Matt Wagner. He's I got talking to him after working quite hard on the commentary booth for Dark Horse last season, and I was talking to him about it, and it come up a lot, and he just sort of said, "Oh, you should just come run with this, do this, do that," and I said, "Look, I don't drive these cars. I'd love to learn," and he has 100% taken me under his wing. He's been talking. I learn by getting the decision-making skills. If you teach me why you're doing things, that's why I learn. And Matt Wagner's been phenomenal with that. So I can't thank him enough. A big shout out to my Indy Autosports sponsors, Martin Sports Apparel and Sim Thunder / Simcoin. If you are looking for a sim racing base Bitcoin, then Simcoin is definitely the way to go. And they've also got some great setups over there at Sim Thunder as well. And additionally to my personal sponsors as well, I can't say thank you enough to the Flat Out Racing Network crew, who are the reason that I'm actually running in this league, these days, because without them introducing me to the Dark Horse guys, I never would be running over here. So I can't thank them enough. New personal sponsor as well, simracermerch.com, a very close Australian friend of mine who does a lot of oval racing, puts a lot of encouragement. He's been instrumental lately. I've got some new shirts hopefully coming out. Oh man, who else? 24/7 Race Control. If you ever need race controlling for anything, 24/7 Race Control is the way to go. I'm sure I'm missing someone. Simrigs.com. Simrigs.com. My new Simrigs wheels are actually on the way, so I can't wait to switch over to direct drive and beat up the nerd that is Matt Wagner.
Yeah, I'll say we'll definitely bring the nerd in next on that one too. But saying he's going to hold that second place over you. It's like yeah, I still got second though. But I say the other thing too is I say obviously with the playoffs, I say like you said, you coming in mid-season, didn't get to run the full schedule to go for the playoffs. But Steve and I were talking about it. Say it's pretty much a playoff for all drivers, top 8, but then also the non-playoffs. So you're going to kick things off with the great start, being the highest non-chaser. Say so, looking good to try to see if you can snag the extra $40. So say I'll let you figure out the money conversion. I don't have that in the back of my head, but it's a great start for that as well.
That's all that matters. It's worth it'll be worth like $55-$60 Australian. So that's a big upgrade. I'll take it. I'm not, to be perfectly honest, I'm not out here for the money. I'm actually out here for the fun and for the learning experiences. It's a nice bonus on the side, but to be perfectly honest, I'm probably just going to reinvest that straight back in the league because you guys deserve it here. So
I'm not saying if you can steal some money from Matt Wagner, I mean that's never a bad thing either, right?
Yeah. Look, he's actually covered my entry fee for the series, so he'll probably get the bulk of that back. So.
Oh man, no, awesome job tonight, Scott. Like I said, I mean, for you, like you said, kind of learning these things as you go. I mean, you've been proving you're a very fast learner, especially with some situations like tonight. So just hats off, and a great result tonight. Look forward to seeing you put it at him then the rest of the season.
Yeah, and thank you so much, guys. I'm off to drink some champagne from a shoe.
Excellent. Enjoy
the shoey, sir.
Thank you so much.
All right, Steve, now we got to grab our second place finisher tonight, and that is going to be the 11 of Matt Wagner. And man, Steve, is like we talked about, we saw there before the yellow came out, it was the 89 of Nick Degroot. He was leading that field. Say Jimmy Dryden was like, nah, I'm just going to cruise behind you. Matt just cruising behind him. And then, so the question now, Matt, is your pit stop. I mean, it was good enough to get you the lead. Was that pit stop a cursing or a blessing or a curse there for you to be the first car out on pit road? Because it was obvious that nobody really wanted to lead there until the very, very end of that race.
Speaking of that last caution, I think that kind of screwed me. I think I had about 4 gallons of fuel left, so I had about 2 more laps than Nick, which would ultimately would have got me to about 34 to go. Which has been great, and I probably will have to save, but not as extreme as I was doing it earlier. But when that caution came out, it hurt everything. And when I got first off pit road, I said, "Nick, let me by." I know he did. I know how sneaky he gets. So,
I was wondering about that. I was also wondering, like, I knew you guys were all in fuel saving mode.
Mm-hmm.
I wondered how hard he was trying not to pass you.
I was going slow intentionally, and he would not pass me. And so it was quite the fuel save there. And then Jimmy Dryden comes by. I'm like, oh yeah, my buddy. All right, here we go. So I started picking up the pace a little bit, and then I see Nick behind there. I know he's probably got a lap on me, so I think about 10 to go, 8 to go. I let Nick by. I said I was just going to be a little bit conservative. So, and then about 5 to go, I turned up the wicker, and then it was time to go, and then I ran out of fuel coming out of turn 4, and that's all she wrote.
Yep. I had a feeling it was going to be real tight for you.
Oh, it was.
When Jimmy Dryden passed you, I noticed that you kind of let him get a larger separation than I was thinking you would, because the farther ahead he is, the harder it is to save fuel. So I wondered, like, you were trying to, I'm sure, do a balance between fuel map and drafting. Do you think that you could have kept your fuel map where it was and gotten closer to him and saved more fuel that way?
That's not exactly the case. I still have drafted them. Usually, about the IR18, you can draft to about 1.4 or maybe to about 1.5. It's pretty close. So I had it in 6th gear. If I go into 5th, I definitely want to burn the fuel a lot more. I was still catching his draft. I wasn't losing him because he had the wicker already turned up. I know he did. Because he just blew by like we were standing still. So
I know.
so I was just using his draft and just trying to get to the end. It didn't work out for us, but P2, I'll take it. I'm very happy. I'm off to a good start.
I guess what I was wondering is, like, if you're closer to somebody, like, if you're at 1.4 or 1.0, you're still catching the draft. But if you're like a tenth or two behind him, are you getting more draft and saving more fuel, or does it not matter?
You eventually you can, but I just don't want to take that risk. So usually, you would have to go into a higher fuel map.
Okay.
And so I really don't want to take that risk.
So you went lowest fuel map, lowest fuel map you could go while still hanging on to the draft.
And that is correct, sir.
Well, it was awful close to working out.
It didn't pan out. If that sneaky one didn't let me off pit road first, which I know he did, I probably would have had a shot to win there. But I'm still happy with 2nd. That's it. I'm done.
We'll try to quiz him. We'll see if we can get it out of him when we talk to him next. But,
he will. He'll tell you.
But I mean, obviously, like you said, I mean, big picture though. I mean, it was on the playoff side of things. I mean, obviously, unfortunately, 2 drivers not able to make it just due to kind of some conflicts. But then, I mean, you think about some of the big hitters that you kind of expect to have to fight right off the bat, like an Andrew Wood, Yari Brupacher, them having tough nights. Charles Teed fell back, say, with the pit strategy not going to his way. So, I mean, it's obviously you're 12 points behind Nick after tonight, but, I mean, you look at so you've got 9 points over Highsong, and then you've got a really nice margin to Teed in 4th position. I say he's about 25 now off of you. So, like you said, big picture, one of the 4 now out of the way, so you've got 3 more to go, and to come out of this one in 2nd, I'm sure that's a good way to start off the playoff, even without getting that win, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're coming up some very good tracks. Phoenix is one of my favorite tracks, and Twin Ring. We have not run Twin Ring here in Area 51 yet. That is so far my favorite track on iRacing here on IndyCar Series, and then we head off to Indy, which is very treacherous. I finished 2nd last time we were there. Hopefully we can pull off a win there when we go there.
It's going to be fun to watch, and say you did have a lot of praise from your 3rd place finisher there from Scott. So I'll say we'll definitely have to let you have a chat with him, and say, because he's definitely been appreciative of you taking him under his wing, or under your wing, I should say, to get him up to speed with these things. Obviously working out well for a 3rd for him too, but a great result for you as well here, Matt. So before we let you go though, sir, definitely want to give you the floor. Any thanks and shouts I'd like to give for that 2nd place run here tonight.
Well, I'd like to thank. Who'd I like to thank? I'd like to thank Jimmy Dronin for the lovely draft I got during that last strip run there. It's really appreciated, but it is what it is. He can run his own race the way he wants to. Scott, for being with me in the chat room, we're just talking strategy back and forth. We real appreciated him of me and him talking about things. So Area 51, they put on a great show. Recently I put a nice little donation to this group, and hopefully things will look up for this series going into next year.
Yeah, I mean, so far so good. Say it's definitely a very exciting, very eventful race number one there. Say a little bit of everything for sure, but yeah, just great job tonight, Matt. Like you said, we'll definitely try to see if we can steal some info from Nick there at the end. But great result from you. I'll say definitely. I think we saw the big picture racing. Looking for that race number 4 of the playoffs versus race number 1. So enjoy this one. Look forward to the next one, and then we will talk to you soon, sir.
You guys have a blessed one.
Great job, Matt.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Steve, that leaves us one driver left to chat with, and that is going to be the number 89 of Nick Degroot. And Nick, we got to lead things off, I say, because we've got some accusations here. So your pit exit there, is that a amazing pit crew Kyle Larson pit stop from that number 11 team, or is that a little bit of strategery from that number 89 driver?
I
If you're willing to share.
definitely didn't want to be leading on that restart. I'll give you that. So I don't know. Maybe the tires spun a little bit. Maybe the throttle didn't go all the way to the floor. I'm not sure, but yeah, I did not want to be leading for that restart.
Yeah, I mean it was, and that's the thing, is just the timing of that whole race. Really, I mean, it was just the way everything fell. Or the beginning of the race, it was right on the edge of a 2-stopper versus a 3-stopper. And then that was the other. We kind of saw you made a pretty good charge to the front, and then you started to roll back. Was that on the first turn? Was that you looking at the field numbers saying, "Wait a second, if I back this thing down, I can actually probably 2-stop this one"? And then of course that the last restart, like you said, nobody wanting to lead there, just with that timing of that caution. I mean, how much were you having to just basically run the fuel numbers throughout the race versus just trying to basically do the outright pace to try to be up front and control it?
Yeah, pretty much that entire race was fuel save mode until like the last couple laps. But at the beginning, I made a little mistake because I was saving from the get-go behind Charles and Matt. And then I thought, I can jump them and get up to Jim here, and I'll just save off of him. But I didn't realize it, but Jim was just going hard and just hoping for a yellow, and I was having trouble keeping up with him and also getting my fuel number. So that was a bit of a mistake. And then we go through the first round of pit stops, and I'm in front of everybody else besides Jim, and I'm like, this is not good. And of course, none of them were willing to pass me, but I definitely got a good feel for how much you could save out front by yourself there. So that helped me after that yellow, because then I knew if I lead this whole run, even if I'm in fuel map 5 saving, it's not going to work. So I need to make sure I'm not leading for this restart, because that's not going to work out. So, and kudos to Matt, because he made it almost all the way. I know he had a little help from Jimmy there, but still, he did a very good job saving with leading for so much of that run.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I thought too. And I think one of the funny things for me is, watching the two of you guys who tend to be, the ones who like to lead the most, aside from maybe Henry Bennett and Andrew Wood. And to watch you guys like fighting over who doesn't lead, and as Matt is trying to save fuel up ahead of you and not going all that fast. You're not going all that fast because you don't want to pass him.
Yeah, it goes against all your instincts. It's like, I want to take the lead. I want to pull away. I want to do what Jim Brooks is doing. It's hard not to do that. But, yeah, you just kind of have to swallow it and be like, you got to stay here. It'll pay off in the long run. And at the end there, I know Jimmy was going hard. And I know some people look at that and say, well, why was he going hard? He was in the back. He could have saved too. I actually kind of liked his strategy, because he was going hard, and until I passed him until like 2 to go, there was a window there when we were at the point of no return. And if there was a caution, he wins the race. And I think that would have been a pretty clever way to take it. But yeah, it's weird not going hard for an entire 110 lap race, but that's the kind of race we had today. And I'm glad to come out on the good end of it, because few mileage races usually don't treat me well.
Well, and you got a great start into the championship 4 races here. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at that, and I think last year we won the playoff opener too. I think it was Pocono. But looking at the races coming up, Motegi and Indy are 2 of my favorite tracks. I think Phoenix is going to be like the questionable one for me. Just try to get through that, maximize the points. But if we can get through that with a good day, I'm really confident in our ability to win it all this season.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like Steve mentioned, a great start for you. So you get that 12-point advantage over Matt. And then I'm going to say it's unfortunate, of course. So say fortunate but unfortunate. Say two big contenders as well with Henry. And with Craig not being able to make it with some conflicts on their schedules, and then Andrew having a tough night. I mean, those are some basically three really big heavy hitters right off the bat there. So I mean, that's always probably a little bit of a relief off your shoulders. But of course, like you said, I mean, you never know how it's going to change over the last three races. But yeah, I mean, just that was a really great run. Like I said, those strategy races are really tough to try to have to do that all race long. So hats off to sticking with the strategy and running that entire run, because I think we've all been there, done that from one time or another. And yeah, it takes, I think, a lot of self-control, I think is the best way to put it, where it's like you said, you see these guys go off in the distance and you want to chase them, but you just know that in the big picture it's not going to be what you need to have to get these wins.
Yeah, and I am bummed that Henry wasn't here tonight. I know he's off playing with real race cars, so that's a pretty good excuse. But after losing him last season, I wanted to go head-to-head with him again. I wanted to take it back, but who knows? There's still 3 races left, and you never know what could happen. So, especially with Andrew, even though he had a rough day, I would not count him out. I would not count him out. Anything can happen.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's definitely big point swings if you can max out the weekend for sure. So, but yeah, just awesome job. I'll say we were joking saying he's got even enough fuel for a burnout, but it looks like he ran just a little shy before. You were able to coast it down to the start finish line, I say, but not quite enough to do anything else with it. I say same thing. I've been there, done that myself. But just awesome job here tonight, Nick. And before we let you go, though, definitely want to give the floor for any thanks and chats I'd like to give for that win this evening.
Yeah, as always, thank you to Factory Back Motorsports, motorsport.com, CobyMoore.com, BlazePod, Degroot Automotive U-Haul and Detailing, Cowboy Shit, and everybody else. Forces team. It's really cool to win, 4 races this season, and hopefully we can get another one next week.
Yeah, it's a tough group to win races with.
Yeah, definitely. It's a really, when I first joined, Henry was really the only guy that I was looking at that was a contender, and I was proven wrong very quickly because you got some fast people here, and especially look at Scott. He's fairly new to these things. He got on the podium there, and he's been a contender almost every week he's been in these things. So that there's some real talent in this field, and it's a great championship battle we're going to have.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm saying that's why we run these things. I'll say it's always fun to see what's going to happen week after week. So like you said, he's got 3 more to go. Saying sounds like I think you and Matt are on the same boat with Twin Ring Motegi. I think both you've got that one kind of circled in. So it's going to be it's a very different, challenging track for those that haven't seen that place. So definitely watch that one as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, enjoy this one though, Nick. I'll say well earned. I'll say well earned strategy. I'll say not the fender to fender or wing to wing. We'll say racing that we've seen you from time to time before, but work the field numbers to perfection tonight, man. So yeah, enjoy this one. Look forward to seeing you next week.
I will. Thank you, guys.
Yep. Congrats, Nick.
Thank you.
All right, Steve. That is our race winner, Nick Degroot. So what we're gonna do here is let me pull up the points real quick. Actually, I lie. I won't be able to pull up. It won't tell me what they are, but I'll go through the points here. So with the win, that's going to put Nick Degroot plus 12 over Matt Wagner. Third place is going to be Jeff Heisong in 21 out. And then Charles Teed, 37 out. 43 for Yari Brupacher, 49 out for Andrew Wood, I'm sorry. And then we mentioned Henry Bennett, Craig Forsyth, unfortunately, with them missing the race, it's showing them as 59 points behind. But again, unfortunately, those two not able to make the race time due to some scheduling conflicts. But man, that was, I mean, there's a little bit of everything. Like I said, we didn't know what was going to be the right strategy tonight, Steve, who was going to make the right call win. But in the end, like I said, they had to run the field numbers to make it to the end there tonight.
Yep, and it was a different kind of race, but it was exciting to watch the strategies play out and see how these guys all kind of stacked up against each other.
Yeah, no, I think honestly these are the toughest races where like we're mentioning where you have to basically commit. Okay, I'm either gonna send it or I'm gonna run the field numbers and kind of just see where things might fall. And say in this case the field mileage was the way to go tonight for Nick Degroot, Matt Wagner, and Scott. And again, I mean, without the yellow, it had been a very interesting way to see how it panned out. Like I said, it seemed like so Matt felt like he was good to go on one more stop. Scott felt pretty confident on his chances. We didn't really ask Nick about that, but it would have been interesting to see if Nick thought he could have made the number 2, because he mentioned what he was able to figure out what he could run without it. So yeah, it was a little bit of everything tonight. So definitely a lot of fun. I'll say next week I'm gonna check where we're at.
While you do that, I got to sign off.
All right.
Thank you.
Steve, always a pleasure, sir.
Yep, same here. And I'll see you in a little bit.
All right, so for our final 3 races, it's going to go next to Phoenix Raceway, followed by Twin Ring Motegi, and the finale at Indianapolis. However, next week there will not be a race. We have the off week because, for at least for those in the U.S., it's going to be Thanksgiving. So yeah, so definitely they'll be taking that week off for Thanksgiving. I believe there will be a fun race for those that that want to race, or maybe are able to race with Area 51. I believe they're going to have some sort of a fun run, but say they're taking that week of Thanksgiving off that way. For those traveling, things like that, don't want to force them to miss anything. But then we'll kick it back off over onto November 30th. We'll be back again for the race at Phoenix Raceway. So until then, though, I hope you all enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Nick Degroot getting the win tonight over Matt Wagner, Scott Rankin in 3rd. Until then, we'll catch you all very soon. Hope you're having a wonderful week. We'll be back on Thursday night for the playoffs starting up for the Thursday Super Speedway Truck Series. So until then, have a wonderful evening. Take care. Have a good night.